WPBF 25 News starts right now.
All right, first here at noon, many Americans continue to face below freezing temperatures and no electricity after a massive winter storm took over and dumped snow and the Northeast with ice, snow, you name it, in so many parts of the South.
At least 35 deaths reported in states afflicted with severe cold, which is not going away anytime soon. And here in South Florida, we're getting a taste of the colder temperatures from that winter storm. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tiffany Kenny.
And I'm Erin Guy. Thanks for joining us. Stephen is off. Certified first warning meteorologist Brooke Silverang is talking about holding on to those sweaters, those jackets, because we have a couple of days of this.
That's right. So the thick winter coats will definitely be so useful here in South Florida, especially for the second half of the weekend. We're expecting to see even colder air, believe it or not, but looking beautiful from our SkyCam network. Even with the sunshine, we are struggling this morning and afternoon to break out of these low 60s and upper 50s. That's where we find northern Palm Beach County so far for lunch hour. Riviera Beach at 59 degrees, Belle Glade at a chilly 54, mid 50s to upper 50s across most of Martin County, Jensen Beach at 56, 55 degrees. Even along Hutchinson Island, Tradition at 55. Port St. Lucie, good morning. You're also in the 50s. We do find the low 50s all the way into the Treasure Coast leading into Indian River County. And also Okeechobee County, this is when we'll have another cold weather advisory going into effect at midnight through 9 a.m. tomorrow. So we're still holding on to the very cold and dangerous air temperatures that can feel more like the 30s. Next 12 hours for the Treasure Coast, impact weather all day long because it's cold, especially for this time of the year. Temperatures about 10 degrees below average. We'll wake up to the 40s, feeling like the 30s for you heading into the day for your Wednesday. Palm Beach County temperatures in the mid 60s eventually this afternoon, then cooling into the low 50s. You can still see some 40s through tomorrow morning as well. Let's take a little peek at your weekend. Saturday, waking up cool, some scattered rainfall associated with the next cold front that will bring severe weather warning weather across South Florida, the Treasure Coast. And this is because we will wake up to temperatures widespread in the 30s and feel more like the 20s. When I come back, we'll take a look at that forecast and just how long this cold air will stick around.
Brooke, thank you. Well, winter is here, and by Florida standards, this is cold today.
Oh, absolutely. Temperatures went into the low 40s with wind chills just above freezing in Okeechobee, which is where we find our Julie Rodriguez with how people there are bracing for the cold temps this week. Latest out of Minneapolis, the man at the center of the immigration crackdown in Minnesota is expected to leave the state as part of a leadership shuffle. This comes as President Trump is now facing growing scrutiny with his own party over ICE tactics. And a federal judge now saying the chief of ICE must appear in court this Friday to explain why detainees have been denied due process. ABC's Armando Garcia is in Minneapolis with the latest. Giants are set to defend their impacts when it comes to young people in a trial that begins today. A mother and daughter are suing TikTok, Meta, and YouTube. In Tallahassee, today several bills are up for discussion as the legislative session continues.
Yeah, the Education Committee will consider adding a definition of school material.
Election leaders will certify the results of Palm Beach County's District 87 special primary election, as we reported earlier this month. All right, with this afternoon, we'll look at some of your top business stories affecting your wallet and at this point, how you travel.
Yeah, the scramble.
Well, this week, the West Palm Beach Police Department is hosting a recruiting event.
Yeah, our Nathalie Pozo sat down with the police chief and one of the recruiters to hear more about the opportunities they're offering.
All right, good information there. And here's what we're looking at for, between yesterday and today. Really big temperature differences. We made it to 90 degrees, breaking a record in West Palm Beach with the temperatures prior to the front. Post-front, we're still struggling to make it to the upper 60s, but still some time to hit right around 67 throughout a good chunk of South Florida today. Right now, we're at 62 degrees, a lot of sunshine, a couple clouds along the Gulf Stream. You can see that right there with the warmer waters. We do have the dew points in the low 40s, indicating that we had a very successful cold front that moved through the area. Very dry air in place. Winds still gusting out of the northwest, 17 miles per hour, with the occasional gust a little stronger at times. Numbers out the door in the 50s for the Treasure Coast, and that's pretty much where you're going to stay throughout the next few hours. Very chilly overall. This is why we call for impact weather for the morning and for your afternoon, because this is cold for Florida. Temperatures about 10 degrees below where we should be for this time of the year. For the next 12 hours, still staying on the chilly side, couple high clouds in in the sky. After sundown, temperatures falling quickly. So if you're going to be out and about, maybe going for a run, bundle up. We're looking at some mid-50s, low 50s for South Florida, and then some 40s through tomorrow morning. A little bit colder along the Treasure Coast. That's where we do find another cold weather advisory going into effect at midnight for Okeechobee and Indian River County. So we had our first cold front move through. We'll have another cold front come in by Wednesday. That one could bring in an isolated shower or two. Nothing too crazy out there. It'll help keep that cold air in place for Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, and then we'll have a very strong cold front. This one bringing Arctic air, very, very cold air, all the way as far south as the Keys heading into the second half of the weekend. But before that air moves in, we'll see a couple scattered showers for your Saturday, and then the coldest air since 2010 setting up over the state. Sneak peek at those Sunday morning temperatures for the feels-like conditions. Sunday morning can feel as cold as the mid to low 20s throughout South Florida, and it can feel as cold as the teens. We don't say this very often for the Treasure Coast or even South Florida. We'll see widespread air temperatures in the 30s, which is, again, very, very cold for this area. So then that's a little look at your Sunday morning. Beach and boating for today. Still have a small craft advisory, rip current risk at a high level. Let me show you the next several days here across South Florida and the Treasure Coast. Another look at what we can expect heading into your Wednesday morning. Temperatures feeling, once again, well into the cold zone there in the mid-40s to low 40s throughout most of the Palm Beaches, feeling like the low 30s throughout most of the Treasure Coast. Thursday morning, also on the chilly side, temperatures will also feel like the 30s. So again, we're going to be on the lookout for multiple advisories issued for the area, and then a freeze watch actually going into effect for Okeechobee County heading into early Thursday morning. We get a little break there Friday with some milder conditions. Temperatures actually a little closer to average, and then Saturday calling for the rain, and then a significant temperature drop between Saturday afternoon into Sunday morning, and then that cold streak for the first couple days of February.
One man from Maryland has nothing but love for his four-legged friends 7 days a week.
Okay, so Darren has totally fallen in love with a specific kind of volunteer work after a volunteer at his local shelter told him to just give it a try one day. ABC's Danny New has the story.
You're watching WPBF 25 News.
Thank you for staying with us. I'm Tiffany Kenny. Impact weather for us today here in South Florida and in the Palm Beaches and Treasure Coast. Certified first warning meteorologist Brooke Silverang is tracking this cooler temperatures trend. Brooke.
Yes, you know, it doesn't look cold by the view that we're seeing over Port St. Lucie, but let's take a peek at those temperatures because it is cold, 55 degrees only. It's lunchtime. And guess what? This is pretty much it for the day today. Across the Treasure Coast and Okeechobee County, temperatures will struggle to make it out of those 50s. Compared to yesterday at around this time, temperatures ranging about 15 up to almost 30 degrees colder compared to yesterday afternoon. Yesterday, we saw record heat in West Palm Beach at 90 degrees. Over the weekend, we had record heat in Vero and Fort Pierce hitting the upper 80s. Now we are, again, much colder than that. It's going to stay like this all afternoon long, low to mid 60s throughout most of Palm Beach County, mid to upper 50s. Okeechobee at 55, Vero at 55, Belglade 55 seems to be the favorite number across the board there. As we look over the next couple of hours throughout the day today, temperatures again staying on the cool side. We do have a little breeze at times, and that'll contribute to our numbers feeling even colder. So if you're going out for a late evening run, make sure you are bundled up because it is going to be a very chilly one, of course. So as we take a look over the next few mornings, we are still looking at some very cold air as you wake up for your Wednesday, Thursday, milder by Friday, but the coldest air of this year will move in as we get closer to that weekend. When I come back, we'll take a look at how you can plan for that very cold weather. Tiffany?
Brooke, thank you. Bitter cold in South Florida. It was so cold this morning walking outside.
Cold. And we're only going to get colder. It's hard to believe because I feel like, you know, we get these couple days in the cold and we're like, all right, we're good for the year.
This is lasting.
This is lasting, and it's just getting colder progressively. So if you like cold weather, take a look what happens Sunday. Another cold front moving through the area. That means we have to get through some rainfall Saturday, but we're calling for some very, very frigid temperatures. We're talking 30s with a feels like temperature in the 20s early Sunday morning and high temperatures barely in the mid-50s. It's going to be one of those days in South Florida where you're like, where are we? Because it's not going to feel like it. It's going to be very cold. So we have our first successful cold front out of the picture. We have another cold front moving through by Wednesday, just keeping cold air in place for your Thursday. And then we'll have a little bit of a warm up, okay? And then we have our stronger cold front. In fact, maybe just the strongest cold front of this year so far. and that moves in as we head into your late Saturday into Sunday. That's when we're going to start to really feel the drop of temperature, but we do have the chance to see that rainfall ahead of it before the Arctic air works its way in and actually sticks around for a couple of days. So this will be the coldest air in consecutive mornings that we've seen since 2010. So we're waking up to the 30s Sunday, feeling like the 20s, waking up to the 30s Monday, widespread, even South Florida, okay? And then that's going to feel very chilly as well, with high temperatures only in the low 50s. And then even Tuesday morning, waking up to the 30s and eventually working our way into the mid 60s only for the high temperatures. So we have even colder weather in the next several days coming up. For now, though, there's a look at Delray Beach. We have the waves moving in. We did have earlier a gale warning that has now since expired. Temperatures out the door in the low 60s throughout most of South Florida, mid to upper 50s throughout most of the Treasure Coast of Okeechobee County. Again, temperatures will be dropping very quickly, so another cold weather advisory going into effect for Okeechobee and Indian River County from midnight into the early morning hours of tomorrow. So evening temperatures 60s and 50s, and then bundle up if you're going for a late walk or any, because we're still looking at that wind that'll stick around and it'll make our temperatures still feel much cooler even after the sun sets. So it's going to be another chilly one for tomorrow. So winds out of the north 25 up to 30 knots otherwise. Let me show you something really interesting as we head into the next couple of days. Keep in mind, temperatures are going to be very cold to start off. So remember that secondary front that I mentioned that moves in by the weekend. We could see some snowfall across Tallahassee, Florida, into Jacksonville. Tiffany, listen, even a little bit of a flurry for Gainesville. Ooh, I know, you heard her get excited about that. Yeah, so there could be some snow and wintry weather across the Big Bend region of Florida sometime Saturday late afternoon. But for us, it's still going to be on the warmer side. We'll just be dealing with a little bit of rainfall then. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. So keep in mind, Wednesday morning will be much colder still, waking up to temperatures feeling like the 30s, some 40s. Come Thursday morning, we will see a freeze watch go into effect for Okeechobee County, which means temperatures for consecutive hours will be so cold that there is the potential for some frost to develop or even some water to freeze across some areas there. So we'll be on the lookout for that. But heading into the weekend, some big changes. Again, the coldest air of the year so far, moving in for the first few days of February.
All right, Brooke, thank you. And here's a live look from West Palm Beach. It is a chilly start to your day, but beautiful skies. You're watching WPBF 25 News at noon.
And I look at your 7-day forecast. Impact cold through the afternoon today. Impact cold morning. Impact cold morning. Friday, not as cold. Still chilly, not as cold. And then, wow, beginning of February.
Wow is right. I know. I'm going to the fair again this weekend, so it's actually going to be great fair weather. All bundled up.
Fair weather.